Line is the path of a moving point. It is a starting place for most art creations. It is the most basic and fundamental visual element. So what do we know about lines? There is an endless number of lines that you see and use in art. But technically speaking, there are only two types: straight lines and curved lines. The rest of them are combinations or variations of these two types. When it comes to line styles, you can group them into 4 style categories. First, a solid or continuous line. Second, all kinds of interrupted or broken lines. Dashed lines, dotted lines, footprints, or time marks. They all would fit into that category. Next, implied lines are the lines you assume. These lines are not actually drawn, but you can see them as a border between other elements, or a sudden change in their characteristics. A good example would be horizon line. It's not there, but you see it. And finally, psychological lines are the lines that are not physically there. You cannot see them. They are generated by our minds based on other elements. If used properly, they guide viewers' eyes and attention to where an artist wants them. It is a very powerful tool that is used in compositions and graphic design. So here are the 4 styles again: solid, interrupted, implied, and psychological. We use line in all art creations at some point or in some degree. Here are just a few examples. Line is used for sketching, gesture, and contour drawing. You can create an image with just one line or make it complex and detailed. Line can be used as the only element in an artwork. Here are some examples: a line drawing by Pablo Picasso and sketches by Edgar Degas. We use lines to define objects in space, to outline shapes, or sketch thumbnails and plan a composition layout before painting. All shading techniques are based on the use of lines. Whether straight strokes are used or curved ones, parallel marks or cross-hatching, they are all using some kind of line drawing. You can use longer strokes for quick shading, or a variation of strokes to show depth, tonal values, and texture. In addition to shading techniques, line as an element can be used alone to add depth in an artwork. Manipulating line, bending it, changing its thickness, you can achieve an illusion of 3-dimensional objects in space. See how lines wrap around the folds to support the form, adding value and space at the same time. And how they follow every facial detail in this portrait of Dürer. Etchings, engravings, and other print media would be a good example of this technique. Line is your greatest support tool. Lines assist you in drawing using the grid method, constructing forms and objects by using temporary structure lines, working with linear perspective. Grid method is a traditional way to transfer or scale images. As you draw, you go through a process of using temporary lines, layout marks, building forms with access lines for symmetrical shapes and surfaces, invisible or behind structural lines, and other supporting elements. Receding lines are the key to building a linear perspective. You cannot draw a realistic picture without using them. Of course, we use line to decorate. From simple and elegant patterns to heavily ornate and complex designs. Graphic designers use line in their work to decorate and, at the same time, lead the eye, emphasize, organize, and add structure to the content. Abstract designs and drawings is another common use of line element. Op art or optical illusions is a good example. You can probably come up with more line uses. Think about it. Believe it or not, but lines have feelings. By changing the way you draw or shade, you can change the meaning and the message of your artwork. There are certain ways our brain processes and interprets what we see. Look for yourself. Horizontal lines generally look quiet and calm. They suggest some space and distance in an artwork. Vertical lines, on the other hand, give an impression of height and balance, support and strength. Curved lines are special. They are very comforting comparing to straight lines. They're elegant and graceful. So if you want to add some ease to your work, use more curves. Here is a line that creates all kinds of energy. Zigzags can suggest an anxiety and confusion or an excitement and energy. It's all in the context. Parallel lines, especially if they're angled, give an impression of speed and movement. Slanted lines are also full of energy. They support movement and action in an artwork. They can also emphasize and lead viewer's eye to a specific spot in a picture. Overall, the quality and characteristics of lines that you use contribute to the mood of your artwork. Use lines meaningfully and responsibly.